Senator Van Hollen of Maryland decided to go all the way down to El Salvador to visit an illegal criminal, probably domestic violence, wife beating gangbanger who was also allegedly trafficking humans, because that's the hill that libs are going to die on. Justine, he did the meme. Everybody was making fun of it. We're just going to send libs down there and they're going to hold hands and have a romantic evening with this criminal gang member. And he actually did it. At some point, it feels like even making fun of them isn't is losing its fervor, right? I don't know. Is what's going on here?
It seems like every day is another Babylon Bee article to come to life. They look like gay lovers embracing one another. This, this poor hostage, just an innocent Maryland man and father. This is what MSNBC and CNN have peddled. Actually, over 205 times they've used that phrase to describe him within the past first 2 weeks of April, and I believe in all over 500 times. Oh, who cares about the fact he may or may not have beaten his wife with a work boot, or that he's maybe a member of that MS-13, rape gang? Oh, no biggie. Just focus on the fact that, well, he is a father.
Yeah, a Maryland father. That's all he is. Pamela, so the interesting component of this right now is now the courts are saying, well, you got to facilitate his transfer back. But he's in the country illegally. Two, he's a citizen of El Salvador, and if El Salvador doesn't want to give him up, we're kind of in a bind here. Do you think that the libs, especially after more and more and more is coming out about this particular individual, are going to stick to this? I think more Congress people are going down there. Is this going to be something that they're going to keep hammering, or are they finally going to go, yeah, maybe let's cut our losses?
I'm sure they're going to keep hammering it. They don't like to back off of a lot of things. This is peak Democrat. They're coddling criminals while ignoring victims like Rachel Warren. And, she was murdered in Van Hollen's own state. So I'm all about Christian value justice. I don't have sympathy for gangsters. And, his trip was not leadership. It's a disgrace, but that is what they like to do. They like to continue on with things that don't make sense to over half of us.
Yeah, taxpayer funded disgrace, by the way. That flight was funded by the US taxpayer. So there's also that. Speaking of libs kind of going off the rails, there was a big story that I'm sure all of you heard and everybody watching probably followed. Bill Maher, noted lib for a very, very long time, went and had dinner with President Trump, Kid Rock, Dana White, and a couple other people. He then came away with that experience going, President Trump seems actually like a much more normal guy than we all give him credit for. Now, while the libs could have taken that and gone, hey, maybe we should reform, instead, they doubled down. Larry David specifically, who is a guy I really like. I love the show Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm sure a bunch of people watching out there really like Seinfeld and Curb and all of the stuff that Larry David's done. But Larry David wrote an article in the New York Times, a fictitious article piece saying called Larry David, My Dinner with Adolf, in which he goes to describe his make-believe dinner with Adolf Hitler, obviously comparing Bill Maher's dinner with Trump to him dining with Hitler. Justine, it seems like libs aren't going to learn from calling President Trump Hitler, and the fact that they're doubling down, even after one of their own vaunted intellectuals, Bill Maher, went like, yeah, kind of a nice guy, they're still continuing to double down. What's going on there?
Well, Larry should know this from Jew to Jew here. Here's just a little bit of advice for Larry. He's a comedian, so he should know that material gets old really quickly. And this whole Nazi shtick, it's staler than a year-old bagel. Okay, I think Larry is. In fact, I think his Judaism really extends to just like the level of a bagel or just a every once in a while occasional matzo ball soup. He's culturally Jewish, and he believes being Jewish means supporting all these lefty causes, calling Trump a Nazi because, well, that sounds really grave and serious, and we can use our ancestral trauma to, go after our political opponents. While at the same time, he seems to say nothing about Hamas raping and butchering women. Oh, that's okay, if Hamas, God forbid, picked up his family members, he would probably just go, well, well, we oppressed them because, we're white and Jewish.
Yeah, it is a ridiculous thing to say. And also too, him specifically, again, this is coming from a Larry David fan. If you remember when President Trump hosted SNL, Pamela, a couple, what was that, 2016, Larry David was in the audience making a joke with Hitler, apparently. You think he regrets that decision? If you don't know the clip, he yells, "Trump's a racist." I don't know. They gave me $500 and they told me to say this. Making a joke. Do you think he regrets that decision?
Oh, I'm sure. And I mean, let's be real. This is the theme so far of this entire show. They don't regret a lot of things. Um, and I think it's just going to be one of those things that the next 4 years, we're going to hear the same talking points over and over and over again. And I don't know how at this point they haven't gotten after this last election that maybe you should just say some things are good and disagree with others because it might just be another clean sweep in 3 years now at this point.
That's where I'm kind of like, yeah, let's let them continue saying the crazy things so long
Yeah.
as it enables us to continue winning.